Hello and welcome to the Halloween Podcast presents. Today's story is called The Coffin in the Woods. It's a 3-part Halloween tale about 4 high school friends who find something strange just days before Halloween, an unfinished coffin sitting deep in the woods with no explanation. What follows is a slow unraveling of trust, fear, and the kind of mystery that keeps you up at night. But don't worry. There's no blood, no jump scares, no monsters waiting in the dark. This isn't that kind of story. This is about something far more familiar. It's about how the mind plays tricks, how fear can grow from something simple, how Halloween has a way of turning the ordinary into the unsettling. The inspiration for this story came from those classic Halloween traditions many of us grew up with. Telling ghost stories at sleepovers, daring each other to sneak into the woods after dark, and letting our imaginations run wild. Because Halloween isn't just about costumes and candy. It's about atmosphere. It's about letting ourselves believe just for one night that something could be lurking right around the corner, even if we know better. There's something fun about fear when it's shared with friends. The Coffin in the Woods captures that spirit, the laughter, the doubt, the suspicion, the tension, and the idea that the scariest thing might not be what you see, but what you think you see. So, get comfortable, turn down the lights, and let your imagination do a little wandering. Because this Halloween, something is waiting in the woods. The Coffin in the Woods. Part 1. October 29th. The Discovery. It started like any other lazy fall afternoon in the small town of Woodvale. Quiet, overcast, and just cold enough to make you pull your hoodie tighter without committing to a full-blown jacket. The kind of day where the wind carried that perfect crunch of dry leaves, and the air smelled like smoke from someone's backyard fire pit mixed with distant Halloween candy. The 4 of them had been inseparable since 5th grade. Darren was the self-appointed leader of the group, mostly because it was his idea to do anything ever. Casey was the spooky one, obsessed with horror movies, urban legends, and anything that would give her a reason to yell, "It's cursed," and mean it. Mags was the level-headed one, smart, sarcastic, and constantly questioning why she even hung out with the others, but never actually leaving. And Felix? Well, Felix was the wild card. Goofy, a little too curious, and always just a few seconds away from doing something stupid. The group had met at Darren's house after lunch, with no homework, no sports, and nothing on TV worth watching. It didn't take long before Darren suggested,
"Let's walk the trail behind my place. Haven't been back there in a while."
So they grabbed sodas, tossed on beanies and hoodies, and headed down the familiar dirt path that wound through the woods like a lazy river. The trees were on fire with color, deep oranges, rich reds, and bright yellows fluttering in the air like confetti. Leaves danced in whirlwinds around their sneakers. The sun filtered through the branches in golden beams, making the whole forest feel like it was glowing. They weren't really going anywhere, just walking, cracking jokes, talking about dumb stuff like what they'd wear for Halloween, if Mr. Clemens the gym teacher was a vampire, and whether candy corn was a food or a hate crime. They were maybe a half hour in when the trail narrowed, splitting into a little side path they'd never noticed before.
"Shortcut?"
Darren asked, eyebrows raised.
To where?
Mags replied.
"To adventure,"
Felix said in a fake dramatic voice, already heading down the path. It led to a small clearing tucked away behind a ring of thick trees and thorny brush. That's when they saw it.
"Do you guys see that?"
Darren said, slowing to a stop. There, Sitting in the middle of the clearing, like it had grown from the earth itself, was a long wooden box. Unfinished, crude, just a skeleton of a coffin. The pine boards were gray and warped, with rusted nails poking out like they were tired of holding anything together. One side was missing, and the lid sat askew like someone had given up halfway through. It wasn't buried, it wasn't hidden. It was just there.
Tell me that's not what it looks like,
Casey said, stepping closer with morbid fascination.
It's a coffin.
Felix said, a bit too eagerly.
Or a canoe for a vampire who hates water.
Maybe it's a Halloween decoration.
Mags offered, clearly trying to reason through it.
Like someone's building a prop for their yard.
In this clearing?
Darren asked.
Middle of nowhere? No roads, no lights? No fake gravestones or fog machines? Just this?
Casey circled it like a cat stalking prey.
I love it. It's creepy in a quiet way, like it's waiting.
Felix leaned in to touch it, but Mags grabbed his sleeve.
What if it has something gross inside? Like bugs? Or worse, like a severed hand?
Then we get famous.
He said, grinning. They poked around for maybe 10 minutes, daring each other to lie in it. Only Casey did, of course, lying back and folding her arms dramatically across her chest.
If I get buried alive, at least I'll be the hottest corpse in the woods,
she said. Darren pulled her out before she got too comfortable. But as they started to head back, something changed.
Wait!
Darren said.
Was that there before?
Next to the coffin, resting like it had been gently placed, was a rusted claw hammer.
I swear that wasn't here 10 minutes ago,
Mag said, backing up. Casey crouched beside it, reaching slowly, but not touching.
It looks recently used, like there's fresh dirt on the handle.
Felix turned around quickly.
Okay. Is anyone else getting the feeling we're being watched?
Suddenly, the trees felt too close. The wind too still. The laughter they'd shared on the walk out had drained away, replaced by something colder.
We should go.
Mag said. No argument there. They left quickly, glancing over their shoulders more than once. When they finally made it back to Darren's house, no one said much. Not even Felix. They got back to Darren's house just as the sky turned a dusky purple, the kind of fall twilight that feels like it's hiding something. No one said a word on the walk up the driveway. Even Felix, who normally couldn't shut up if someone paid him, kept quiet. Inside, the smell of chili filled the air. Darren's mom had a pot on the stove and was halfway through yelling at the dog for begging when the kids shuffled into the kitchen like a bunch of wide-eyed ghosts.
You kids look like you saw a monster,
she said, barely glancing up.
Dinner will be ready in 20.
We're not hungry.
Darren muttered.
You're always hungry.
We're just going to hang upstairs for a bit.
That was the end of that conversation. They climbed the stairs to Darren's room and shut the door behind them. They recapped everything, like people do after something weird happens, trying to make sense of it by saying it out loud. But the more they talked about the coffin, the more real it all felt. And the hammer. That stupid, rusted hammer that no one claimed to see until the end.
Maybe it was there the whole time.
Mags offered.
Maybe we just didn't notice it.
Casey shook her head.
I notice everything. You think I wouldn't clock a murder weapon next to a coffin?
Just then, there was a loud knock on the door.
Who's dying in here?
Said a voice from the other side, followed by a creak as the door swung open. It was Darren's older brother, Kyle. Kyle was 22, lived at home, worked part-time at the gas station, and spent the rest of his time watching horror movies and doing absolutely nothing useful. He leaned against the doorframe, smirking like he already knew more than he should.
You guys look like you saw the ghost of algebra class.
We found a coffin
Felix blurted out.
in the woods.
Kyle raised an eyebrow.
Was it empty?
Well, yeah.
Darren said.
Mostly. It wasn't finished.
Kyle whistled low.
Ooh, an unfinished coffin? That's worse. You know what that means, right?
They stared at him.
It means someone's got a plan. You don't build a coffin halfway unless you already picked someone out for it.
Can you not?
Mag said. Kyle stepped inside the room, making it worse.
Did you touch it?
No.
Mag said.
Yes.
Casey said at the same time. Kyle's grin widened.
Nice knowing you, Case.
He paced the room like some low-budget crypt keeper.
My buddy back in high school. He swore there was this guy who built coffins in the woods. Every Halloween, he'd finish one and fill it. Said you could hear hammering out there just before midnight.
Darren rolled his eyes.
Kyle, shut up.
I'm just saying.
Kyle shrugged.
People go missing every Halloween. You think that's a coincidence?
People also get sick from candy corn.
Felix muttered.
You want to blame the coffin guy for that too?
Kyle leaned closer to Felix and whispered.
Better hope it's not your name on that coffin.
Then he left, laughing to himself. The room stayed quiet after that. The four friends sat in a weird, tense silence. The flicker of Darren's Halloween string lights casting long shadows on the walls. Eventually, the group broke up for the night. Mags went home. Casey texted them that she kept checking her closet for Coffin Guy. Felix said he was fine, but his next message was a photo of his bedroom door barricaded with laundry baskets. Darren lay in bed and stared at the ceiling, eyes wide open, heart pounding at every creak in the walls. He could have sworn, just for a moment, that he heard the sound of a hammer, echoing faintly from the woods behind the house. That night, none of them slept all that well, and by morning, Felix would be absolutely convinced that Casey brought the hammer from home. Part 2, October 30th, The Betrayals. By the time school let out the next day, the group had gone full conspiracy mode. It started with a text in the group chat from Felix at 7:14 a.m. Felix messaged,
Okay, hear me out. What if Casey brought the hammer? She did lie in the coffin and said, I'd make a hot corpse. Like, who says that?
Casey messaged,
I say that, and I stand by it.
Mags messaged,
Are we seriously accusing each other now?
Felix messaged,
It's always the one who lies down first.
Casey ignored the rest of the messages. Mags pretended it was all a joke. Darren stayed silent. That was the part that made everyone nervous. Darren never stayed silent, not unless he was planning something. By lunchtime, the group was sitting at their usual table in the back of the cafeteria, but the vibe had shifted. Nobody touched their food. Casey poked at her mashed potatoes like she was waiting for them to move. Felix tried to lighten the mood by sticking a carrot in his mashed potatoes and calling it a coffin with a periscope.
Look, he's trying to get signal.
Felix said in a spooky voice.
Can you hear me now? I'm buried alive and still have better service than Verizon.
Mag snorted. Casey cracked a smile. Darren didn't laugh. Instead, he said,
I think it's weird none of you asked what I saw when we found the coffin.
Everyone froze. Mags raised an eyebrow.
What did you see?
Darren leaned in.
There were boot prints in the dirt on the other side. Smaller than mine, like a size 7. You wear 7s, Casey?
Casey blinked.
Are you serious?
I'm just saying.
Darren said, picking up a chip.
You're the only one who touched the coffin. You got close enough to leave those prints.
Mags cut in.
All right, this is getting ridiculous. None of us built that thing. We all saw it at the same time.
Or,
Felix said, pointing dramatically at Darren with a half-eaten nugget.
you built it, and now you're trying to deflect because you didn't expect us to come across it so soon. Classic reverse psychology. Gaslight, gatekeep, gravedigger.
That's not even the right order.
Darren muttered.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did my correctness not fit into your coffin building narrative?
Felix said, pulling his hoodie over his head like he was being interrogated by the FBI.
Y'all better check Darren's garage for power tools and pine boards.
Casey leaned back in her chair.
Okay, so if it wasn't me, and it wasn't Darren, and it definitely wasn't Felix, because he can't even build IKEA furniture without crying,
That bookshelf was rigged!
Felix shouted.
then maybe
Casey continued.
it was Mags.
Mags blinked.
Excuse me?
You're the one who wanted to leave first. You were the most uncomfortable. Maybe it's because you already knew what it was.
Are you joking?
Mags said.
Why would I build a coffin and leave it in the woods?
You do love Halloween.
Felix added unhelpfully.
I love candy and watching Hocus Pocus in pajamas, not playing budget mortician.
The table went quiet. Their food sat untouched. The noise of the cafeteria faded behind the weight of their own ridiculous accusations. Then Casey broke the silence.
Maybe it was Ryan.
They all looked at her. Mags tilted her head.
Ryan, my 8-year-old brother.
I'm just saying.
Casey said.
He blackmailed us once. That's sociopath behavior. How far of a leap is it from give me candy to dig a shallow grave?
Felix pointed.
That kid does carry a notepad everywhere. You know who else carries notepads? Hitmen.
Mags sighed.
Okay. Everyone take a breath. We are not accusing my brother of building a coffin. He can't even reach the top shelf in our pantry.
Felix whispered.
Yet.
They let the subject drop for now, but things weren't the same after that. After school, the group split up and headed home, each with a silent agreement not to talk about the coffin anymore. That lasted about 30 minutes. Casey, 5:47 p.m. Casey sat cross-legged on her bedroom floor, sorting through her Halloween decorations. She was redoing the bloody corner for her annual spooky photo shoot. Plastic knives, LED candles, red corn syrup she definitely overcooked. She pulled out a wooden plank from under her bed, a leftover from the haunted backdrop she made 2 weeks ago. But as she wiped the fake blood off the side, her stomach dropped. There, on the edge of the board, was a nail. Not just any nail. A thick, rusted nail, crooked, old, exactly like the ones in the coffin. She stared at it.
This wasn't part of my set.
Her hand hovered over the board, then yanked her phone off the bed. Casey messaged,
I think someone's messing with me. One of the coffin nails is in my room.
no response. Casey messaged,
Not funny, guys.
still nothing. She stared at the board again, and then, almost reluctantly, she whispered to herself,
Okay, but I didn't put it there.
Darren, 6:12 p.m. Darren stood in his garage looking for his old skeleton lawn stakes. His parents had officially given up on decorating, so it was up to him to keep the tradition alive, or at least make the porch spooky enough to not get egged. He pulled open the side cabinet where they kept all the seasonal junk. A stack of pine boards tumbled out. He stared at them, same length, same grain. One of them had a split on the end, like it had been nailed and then yanked apart.
Nope.
He turned around. Kyle was behind him.
You're touching the wood.
Kyle said solemnly.
The pact is sealed?
I swear to God, Kyle, not today.
Kyle raised his hands.
Hey man, just saying. Once the ghost coffin chooses you, it doesn't stop until you're horizontal.
Are you watching Grave Encounters again?
Twice.
Kyle replied.
I'm in the zone.
Darren ignored him, picked up one of the boards, and turned it over. Scribbled on the back in black marker, Property of Kyle, do not touch. Seriously, Darren, don't be a thief again? Darren blinked.
This is your wood?
Kyle looked confused.
Oh, crap. Is that from my Halloween graveyard display last year? That stuff's cursed, dude. I left it outside during a thunderstorm and a raccoon died on it.
You're the worst.
Darren said.
Hey, I didn't kill the raccoon. That was nature.
Mags, 7:30 p.m. Mags was in the middle of cleaning her room when she heard Ryan shriek from the living room. She bolted down the hallway. He was standing on the couch, pointing at the coffee table.
What the heck is that?
He said dramatically, as if they just discovered a portal to hell. Mags looked down. There it was. A small wooden wedge, triangular, like a chunk of a coffin corner. Splintered on one side. It didn't belong to any of their furniture. Ryan looked at her, wide-eyed.
Did the coffin man follow you?
She snatched it up.
Don't be stupid.
Ryan narrowed his eyes.
Maybe you're the coffin man.
I'm not the coffin man.
He crossed his arms.
I bet you are. You look like you dig holes when people aren't watching.
Mags stormed off with the wood chunk, but not before Ryan called after her.
You better not ruin my Halloween with your guilt.
Felix, 7:47 p.m. Felix was in his room, half playing video games, half spinning in his chair, trying to forget the smell of pine wood and fear. He got up to get snacks and stubbed his toe on something under his bed. It was a tool bag. His tool bag. He pulled it out and unzipped it. Sawdust. More than he remembered, and a wood chisel. Felix stared at it like it had just called him by name.
I don't even own a chisel.
He looked around the room like someone might be watching him.
Okay, it's either a prank or I've been sleep carpentering.
He sat back on his bed, sweating, then grabbed his phone. Felix messaged,
Okay, hear me out. I'm sure it was Casey. Or maybe Mags. Or maybe Kyle. I don't know. It was someone.
No one replied, so naturally, he made a meme. He used a photo from the last school dance, circled each of their faces in red, and labeled them. Casey probably owns a shovel. Darren, quiet equals guilty. Mags definitely has a hiding place for bodies. Felix himself, too pretty to die. Kyle, added for fun, already dead inside. Caption: one of us is lying, one of us is dying, and one of us definitely peed a little in the woods yesterday. He hit send. Everyone, 8:32 p.m. None of them replied, but they read it. And in that moment, staring at their phones in separate homes, surrounded by splinters, rusted nails, and dread, each one of them quietly wondered the same thing. What if this wasn't a prank? What if one of us really built that coffin? And more importantly, what happens tomorrow night? Part 3, October 31st. It's Halloween. Halloween morning arrived in Woodvale like something out of a postcard. Thin fog hugged the streets. Spider webs glittered with dew in the corners of porch railings, and the scent of cinnamon, fallen leaves, and someone burning toast drifted through the neighborhood like a cozy curse. Plastic skeletons hung from trees like they were enjoying the view, and every house that took Halloween seriously had already activated their motion sensor witches, cackling with every dog that walked by. Darren stood at the kitchen counter, pouring milk into a bowl of cereal shaped like bats, when Kyle stormed in wearing a Dracula cape, a plastic crown, and one cowboy boot.
You won't believe what just happened.
Kyle announced dramatically. Darren didn't even look up.
You tried to make a haunted smoothie again?
This time, it was a haunted investment opportunity.
He tossed a crumpled letter on the counter.
I got a certified envelope in the mail this morning from an official organization in Canada. Apparently, I've inherited a castle from a long-lost uncle named, hold on, Lord Bernard Shadowgrave III.
Darren blinked.
You think that's real?
Kyle pointed at the paper.
It had wax seals, Darren. No one fakes a wax seal unless it's super legit. I might be royalty now.
You think you're a Canadian vampire prince?
Half vampire. I still sunburned?
Darren sighed and picked up the letter. The return address was clearly handwritten with what looked like eyeliner. And the official seal was a glittery sticker of a wolf howling at the moon.
This is a fake sweepstakes from that monster cereal you keep buying.
I had to mail in 10 proofs of purchase.
Kyle said proudly.
Hey, it's my destiny. And if I disappear tonight, it's because I'm being airlifted to my new estate in the woods of Toronto.
You realize Toronto doesn't have woods, right?
Exactly. A secret forest.
Kyle popped a plastic fang into his mouth, poured the rest of Darren's bat-shaped cereal into a Ziploc bag, and saluted.
Happy Halloween. Don't die. And remember, if someone offers you eternal life, always read the fine print.
He grabbed his fog machine and headed out the front door without shoes. Darren just stared after him and muttered,
That's why you're not allowed to vote?
By the time Kyle wandered off into the fog with his fog machine and a dream of inheriting spooky Canadian real estate, Darren was left standing on the porch, holding a half-eaten toaster waffle, and wondering how he ended up related to a man who unironically called himself Lord Shadowgrave Jr. Halloween had fully arrived. Kids were already darting across lawns in costumes too thin for the chilly air, dragging capes, swords, and plastic pumpkins. Porch lights were flipping on one by one, and the occasional laugh or distant trick-or-treat echoed through the streets. The breeze smelled like crushed leaves and sugar, and yet the weight of the coffin still sat heavy on his chest. No one had brought it up in the group chat, not directly, but it was there, beneath every message, between every joke, in the way they all said, "Still doing this?" Like they were preparing for something more than candy duty. They were all trying to act like it wasn't bothering them, but it was. Darren could feel it in his shoulders, in the pit of his stomach, in the way the wind kept blowing leaves in slow, deliberate spirals like they were spelling something. He checked his phone. A new text had just come in from Felix. Felix messaged,
What time are we meeting? And if I die tonight, tell Kyle he can't have my Switch.
Darren smirked. Halloween was always supposed to be fun, so why did tonight feel like it was waiting for them? He pocketed his phone, stepped back inside, and began getting ready. Costume or not, trick-or-treat duty or not. Because whether they liked it or not, they were going back to the woods. Later that evening, at 5:30 on the dot, the gang was back together again. Darren met them outside, bundled in his hoodie. Casey had swapped her devil horns for a full red cloak that looked suspiciously like it came from her mom's costume bin. Mags wore a witch hat with glittery spiderwebs, and Felix, true to his word, arrived in a blinking skeleton onesie with a plastic cauldron full of Twizzlers.
You know,
Casey said as they waited on the porch.
I feel like every Halloween we try to keep things normal, and every Halloween something weird happens.
Yeah, but at least this year it's only a coffin in the woods and not, like, the haunted toilet incident of last year.
Felix added. Darren nodded.
Still haven't forgiven you for that, by the way.
Before anyone could respond, the front door burst open.
I'm ready.
Ryan declared. The 8-year-old vampire stood tall in his glittering cape and plastic fangs, wielding his foam sword like a general surveying his troops. He had 2 candy bags slung over his shoulder, one for candy, one for evidence.
You look terrifying.
Mags told him. Ryan nodded gravely.
I know.
They set off down the street together. Halloween was in full swing now, porch lights glowing, fog machines humming, the air filled with the sounds of kids screaming with joy and occasionally fear. The friends stuck close together, each trying to pretend this was just another normal Halloween. But it wasn't. Every time they passed a yard decoration that looked too real, or heard something rustle just outside their view, their thoughts drifted back to the woods, to the clearing, to the box that had no reason to exist. Ryan was having the time of his life. He ran from house to house, filling his bag and demanding respect for a proper vampire lord from anyone who dared hand him Smarties. But eventually, the sun dipped low behind the trees, and one by one, porch lights began to switch off. And that's when Ryan turned to them and said,
Time for the woods.
They stopped in their tracks.
Seriously?
Casey asked. Ryan nodded.
You promised me spooky. I want spooky. Take me to the coffin.
Please stop saying that like it's normal.
Felix muttered. But Darren just sighed and motioned for them to follow.
Let's just get it over with.
They turned down the trail that led behind Darren's neighborhood, the same trail they had taken 3 days ago. The woods loomed ahead, darker than ever, like they'd been waiting too. The path twisted under brittle leaves and bare branches. The wind had died. The only sounds now were their own footsteps and the soft clinking of Ryan's candy bag. They stepped into the clearing, and there it was, the coffin, exactly as they'd left it, unfinished, quiet, still. Ryan ran up to it.
That's it? That's the scary thing?
Don't touch it.
Mags warned.
Why? It's just wood.
But none of them moved. Not Casey, not Felix, not Darren. Because even though it was still and silent, there was something different this time. Something wrong. Darren slowly stepped forward.
It's not smaller. It's not changed.
He swallowed.
It's exactly the same, like it hasn't aged, like it's frozen.
Then he turned to them.
Do you guys see him?
The others followed his gaze. And there, across the clearing, half shadowed by the trees, stood a man. Old, pale, stooped with time. He wore a long dark coat and moved slowly, methodically, as he began to take the coffin apart. Plank by plank, no tools, just his hands, quietly separating each board with unnatural ease, like the wood was surrendering. The man never looked up, never acknowledged them. He just kept dismantling.
Who is that?
Casey whispered. Felix's voice cracked.
That's not Kyle. Is it?
Mags shook her head.
We need to leave.
But Darren couldn't stop watching. There was something about the old man's face, partially hidden in the shadows. A flicker of something familiar. Or ancient.
Guys, I think...
Darren started. Then he blinked. The man was gone. The clearing was empty. And the coffin, gone too. Not moved, no debris, no wood, no tools, nothing. Just leaves and fog and silence. The 5 of them stood frozen, staring at the patch of dirt where the coffin had been. Ryan slowly pulled a single candy bar from his bag and whispered,
I want to go home now.
Darren stepped forward. There, in the exact center of the clearing, a single nail, bent, rusted, still warm to the touch, waiting. No one spoke, not even Ryan. They just stood there. 5 figures on the edge of something they couldn't quite explain. Not a prank, not a dream, not a ghost story passed around a flashlight. This had happened, and they didn't understand any of it. Finally, Darren turned away.
Let's go.
No one argued. They walked back down the trail in silence, the fog parting just enough for their path, as if even the woods had gotten what it wanted. As they reached the edge of the neighborhood, Casey pulled out her phone.
I'm posting something,
She said, her voice low.
just so we remember this, in case we try to convince ourselves it was nothing.
She tapped through her camera roll.
Here,
She said.
the last one I took.
They all huddled around. The photo showed the 5 of them, silhouettes just barely lit by the moonlight, standing at the edge of the clearing. But directly behind them was the coffin, fully built, closed, and standing next to it, the old man, eyes locked on the camera, expression blank, hands resting on the lid like he was waiting for them to come back. Casey's thumb trembled as she zoomed in. Darren whispered.
You didn't see that when you took it?
She shook her head.
I swear, there was nothing there.
No one said another word. They just stood there, staring at the image on the screen, the soft glow of the phone casting ghostly shadows across their faces, and somewhere behind them, deep in the woods, something moved. Epilogue, November 1st. The next day was cold, gray, and quiet. Halloween was over. The decorations were already starting to come down. Pumpkins sat deflated on porches. Candy wrappers littered the sidewalks like forgotten treasures. It was like the whole town had collectively exhaled. At school, the 5 of them met in the back hallway between classes, near the vending machines where no one ever paid attention. No one said, "What happened last night?" No one had to. The image on Casey's phone had already been burned into their minds. She tried to show it to her mom that morning, but the photo was gone, vanished, deleted, replaced with a black screen that read, "File corrupted." She didn't even try to explain. Mags stayed up all night Googling local deaths in the woods. No old man, no coffin, no record of anything unusual. Felix said he tried to draw the man from memory, but every time he finished the sketch, it looked different, like the face kept changing in his head. Ryan hadn't spoken to any of them all day. He left a note in Mags's backpack instead. It read, "I had fun. Let's not go back there again. Vampire Lord Ryan. P.S. I still want my candy." As for Darren, he walked the trail again before school, alone, just to be sure. He made it to the clearing, same trees, same silence, no coffin, no old man. But where the box had once rested, there was now a single, perfect square of ground, darker than the rest. Like something had been there for a long, long time, and sticking out of the dirt was another nail, new, clean, untouched by rust or time. It was standing upright, waiting. Thank you for listening to the Halloween Podcast Presents. If you're enjoying these tales of fright, please consider leaving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from. If you have any questions, comments, or want to suggest a story idea, send us an email at thehalloweenpodcast@gmail.com. If you'd like to support the show, head on over to our website, thehalloweenpodcast.com, and pick up some podcast merch. You can also download the entire audiobook now, as well as all our other stories. Join us again next week as we continue our tales. Until next time, this is Lyle Perez saying, have a good night.